Welcome everyone. Welcome to Torah L'Chaim with your host Rabbi Anibal. Welcome Jerome. Welcome J and J, and welcome everyone at home. We have Priscilla. We have Ashira. Welcome. And Amparo Goldman is here. The Grossmans are here too. Welcome to the class. By the way, I have to apologize. I messed up the title. I don't know what I put Beshalach. I meant to put Tu Bishvat. I should never do this after midnight. This is what happened. And it's Tu Bishvat. You see, that's why I put tax day there. You see, the title is tax day because that's what Tu Bishvat is. It's tax day. You'll see in a minute why I call it tax day. And I know Priscilla say Chag Sameach. Some people think it's a celebration to Bishvat, but it was not a celebration at all. It was a time to calculate taxes for the fruits. The tithe, yeah. You have to give a 10% every year, right? But how do you count years? To Bishvat. Don't worry, we are going to talk about that. Hello, Holly Mandelkern. Welcome to the class. I guess for the rebroadcast of the class, I will fix the title. Otherwise, it's confusing. I'm not talking about Parshat Beshalach at all. We're going to talk about Tu Bishvat, different interpretations of the day. And I say different interpretations because Tu Bishvat was reinterpreted multiple times in history. But think about it. Tax day. Does it mean anything to you, Jerome?
No.
Why? What is Tu Bishvat for you?
Tu Bishvat is a holiday with the trees.
Yeah, holiday for the trees. And some people, if you live in South America, they go and plant trees. But Tu Bishvat has nothing to do with planting. Never, but it was reinterpreted. And then after the expulsion of the Jewish people from the land of Israel, after the destruction of the temple by the Romans, big diaspora started. We started to move whatever we could, right, towards the west. And one thing happened. The Jews were not allowed to own land. So we lost all kind of connection to farming. So what do you do with Tu Bishvat now? Reinvented. And all of a sudden the symbol of the tree was not about the tree anymore. It was about God or the Torah. Because the Torah is called Etz Chaim, the tree of life. So all of a sudden, the rabbis decided that the Tu Bishvat is the new year of the tree, but the tree is the Torah. So it's a celebration of Torah. So why the Torah says that? The Torah said that Tu Bishvat is useful for calculating tithe, and also because there is a mitzvah. There is a commandment in the Torah that, by the way, is still valid this day. There is that if you plant a tree in Winnipeg, if you plant a tree, you're not allowed to eat the fruits of the tree for the first 3 years. But hold on, there's a catch. It is 4 years, but it's 3 years you can't touch it. The 4th year, the whole production is an offering. Okay, but you have to take it out. It's an offering. And on the 5th year, you can eat it. But how do you calculate the 5 years? Tu Bishvat. Okay, very good. Tu Bishvat. So that's the Torah. In fact, the Torah doesn't even mention Tu Bishvat. The rabbis decided that that's what the Torah meant. Okay, because the Torah said that you have to calculate it. But then the rabbis ask, calculate it from when to when. The Torah doesn't say, so, oral law. Oral law. But even through oral law, there was a disagreement between rabbis. Some rabbis thought that the new year of the trees should be the first day of Shabbat. Not the 15th, but the first. And another group of rabbis decided that it was on the 15th. And what happened with two different group of rabbis disagree? What do?
They have a discussion with the Mishnah and they look for origins in the
They
Torah?
vote.
Oh, really?
They vote.
I thought they referenced it.
No, no, well, they have a debate.
Yeah.
You have to defend your position, right? And then eventually it goes to a vote, and you follow the majority. And the majority of rabbis decided that the new year of the tree is the 15th, not the 1st. Of course, the names Hillel and Shammai are going to be mentioned there. Just wait for that one. Wait for that one, because they're always having opposite opinions. But before we move into that, let me clarify this. This is very important. The disagreements was never between Hillel and Shammai. You have to pay attention when you read. It will always say Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai, the house of Hillel and the house of Shammai. That means the students,
Right.
not Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai are long gone by the time that this was discussed. Okay? These are their students that it's almost like did you read Harry Potter?
Yeah, the different houses.
The different houses?
Yeah. Gryffindor is.
But Gryffindor is long gone, right?
Yeah.
But you see how nevertheless they all have a similar behavioral pattern.
Personality.
Yeah, so this is the same. Hillel and Shammai are long gone, but their followers, they still follow certain pattern. And in general, you will see that the pattern of Beit Hillel is that they are more lenient, and the pattern of Beit Shammai is that they are more stringent. Okay? Had their founders, Hillel and Shammai, been alive, okay, they will know the answer. They have to vote because nobody remembered. But Hillel and Shammai, yes, they remember everything. It said that they disagree in only 4 things. Only 4 things. One of the things was about the smicha,
Yeah.
over the animals before they put the hands over the animals before sacrifices. That was one thing, that I can't remember the other 3. Okay? All the other disagreements between Hillel and Shammai was between their disciples, not between them.
So the
Okay.
Hanukkah lighting is
The Hanukkah, so it's Beit Hillel, Beit Shammai. Don't get confused with that, and it's one of the most common mistakes when I talk to people, that they think that when we say Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai, we are talking about Hillel and Shammai. No, they never disagreed with anything. They knew the answers already. The rabbis explained that because their students were not diligent, they were not paying enough attention, or they were not studying enough, eventually the next generation, after the masters were dead, when a new issue will come out, they didn't know the answer. So they have to do a little research and put it up to a vote. Hillel and Shammai, they didn't have to do any research. They remembered. Okay? Okay. With that in mind, let's study about Tu Bishvat, guys. Okay. Let's start. Why do we need Tu Bishvat? That should be the first question. And I gave you a little bit of a heads up
about the taxes.
about the taxes and the calculation of the third year, 4th year, and 5th year when you plant a tree. And I say this is very important. Let me read this and then I will revisit the question, okay? I will read now from Leviticus, chapter 19, verses 23 to 25. Ki tavou el haaretz. The Torah will mention this many times. When you enter to the land. Why is that? Because there are many commandments that they were on hold until they enter to the land of Israel, and then they will start being applicable. Okay? So, kitavo el haaretz, when you enter the land of Israel, and plant various kinds of fruit trees, you are to regard its fruits as forbidden for 3 years it will be forbidden to you and not eaten. Okay? So basically the prohibition is called orla. Orla is the prohibition of the first 3 years. Now said, in the 4th year, okay, all its fruits will be holy for praising Hashem. You have to give it away, you have to offer it.
Temple, yeah.
But in the, yes,
Were those fruits eaten or did they give them to the poor people?
no, to the temple.
To the temple.
Temple
Yeah.
for the Levim, the
For the
Levites.
priest.
For the priest. What did they do? I'm not sure if there was a sacrifice or they will give it away or they will eat it. I don't know. Not an expert in temple times.
Was he like the widows or
Yeah, but you have to remember that many of these laws became a precedent for things that you will see in churches in these days, right? That they will say that you have to give 10% of your income to the church, and they will be the one
Who disperse it.
distributing the money. A little bit for the private jet, and a little bit for the poor, right? Okay, you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Okay, but but in the 5th year, you may eat its fruit, so they will produce even more for you. I am Hashem your God. Okay, now it's very interesting, and this is something that farmers will agree with the Torah. That I said, if you, for the first 3 years you don't touch the fruit and you allow those fruits to rot, fall,
Fertile is the
and then the next fruit will be what? Better. And it's what the Torah says. You do this, right? And it says it will produce even more for you.
more nutrients in the soil.
Okay? So this could be understood as like a theological promise that God will bless you, but a fact. Or a biological fact.
Science. Yeah.
Science. Allow the fruit at the beginning to go back to the land, and the nutrients will bring you even better fruit the next year. Okay? So, anyway. So, this is the way it goes. So, let me read this. The Torah here details regulation associated with the fruit trees. Any fruit that grows on a tree during the first 3 years after it's been planted is called orla and is forbidden for consumption. Now again, we have a problem. How do we calculate the year? From the time of planting? From the time of the first bloom? From the time of Rosh Hashanah? Maybe from the time of the beginning of the month of Nisan, which is the month of Pesach, which according to the Torah is the first month of the year? The Torah does not say. So that was something that the rabbis had to figure out, because somehow they have to calculate the 3 years. Okay? So, interesting thing is the tithing of things applies for many different things. You have cattle also, right? So, listen to this. When we go to the rabbis, the first thing they regulated, wasn't the Mishnah. Okay? And in the Mishnah, they wrote this. There are 4 new years. Do you know that? There are 4 new years?
Yeah.
On the 1st of Nisan, okay, what is the first day of the month of Passover? The 1st of Nisan is the new year for kings and festivals. So all the festivals are calculated based on the Rosh Chodesh, on the new moon of Nisan, okay? And also a king. Let's say that you are a king who ascended to the throne 1 month before the beginning of Nisan. Once you go through the 1st of Nisan,
In the second year.
no, that will be your first anniversary.
Yeah.
Basically, you counted this.
Yeah.
And that was the way it was counted for kings. Why? The rabbis decided that way. Okay? The second new year, according to the rabbis, is on the 1st of Elul. Which one is Elul? is the month before the high holiday, before Rosh Hashanah. Okay, the first of Elul. So the rabbi says, now the first of Elul is the new year for the tithe of cattle. Okay? That was one opinion. Because Rabbi Eleazar and Rabbi Shimon, however, placed this on the first of Tishrei, a month later.
Did you give a reason?
Sorry?
Did you give a reason?
No, they didn't. Maybe it was practical. I mean, I'm sure if I go to the Talmud, I may find a comment on the site, but I never read the actual page from the Talmud with explanations, okay? So, then they said, on the first of Tishrei is, how would you call that new year, the first of Tishrei? Rosh Hashanah. But how you call it? If the first of Nisan is the new year for the kings and festival, okay? First of Elul is the new year for the cattle. Rosh Hashanah is the new year of what? Sorry, I'm talking here to Jerome. I know you at home, you can read it, right? The text is there. That's why I'm putting you on the spot. So Rosh Hashanah is the new year of the years. It's when the calendar changes year. Last year was 5783, and then comes Rosh Hashanah, and it's 84. So it's a new year for the years. So what the rabbi said, the first of Tishrei is new year for the years, and also to calculate sabbatical and jubilees.
Okay, for the 50 years.
Yeah. Now for New Year of the Tree, they said there are two opinions. First of Shevat is the new year for the tree according to the ruling of Beit Shammai. And Beit Hillel, however, placed it on the 15th of that month. To Bishvat. 15th of Shevat. So Shammai said it's on the 1st. Beit Hillel said it's on the 15th. Who won the debate?
Obviously Hillel.
Obviously Beit Hillel. And we have it on the 15th of Shevat. Okay? Hello, Eric Tizon. Welcome. I just saw your name. Good afternoon to you. So, that's the Mishnah. Now, during the discussion of the Gemara, it was said the follows. Okay? A rabbi taught, if the fruit of a tree blossoms before the 15th of Shevat, it is tithe for the outgoing year, for the previous year. If it blossoms after the 15th of Shevat, it's tithe for the next year, for the new year. So if you're a farmer, what you have to do is around the times of Tu Bishvat, you have to go check your trees to see if they're ready blossom or not. Okay?
Yeah.
So that is the way we calculate.
So how do they calculate trees that you don't plant? Like the fruit falls off the tree.
Okay, this is a good question. This is a good question, especially, let's say, if you are in Winnipeg and you buy a new house. As a Jew, you have the obligation to ask the previous owners, when did you plant them? And they will say, oh, let me say, a couple of years ago. So that beautiful crab tree apple that it was planted 2 years ago is still forbidden for you, even if you're in Winnipeg.
But how do you calculate trees that are blossom from seeds of fruit that you did not harvest, went into the earth and started growing trees? How do you keep track of that?
Well, you have to always look at the blossom for the calculation of the tithing. Once the 5th year is over, right? In this day, it doesn't matter because there is no temple. You don't have to tithe anymore. So it doesn't really matter. So Tu Bishvat, when everybody sings happy songs, was tax day. Okay? You have to take notes of all your profits.
Right.
because based on that, you will have the obligation in temple tax to give 10% away.
Yeah.
Okay? So, nowhere said it was a happy day.
That's right. Serious day.
It was a serious day. Okay? So, this is for you, you have to understand, this is our threshold.
Yeah.
And from there, it's going to start evolving. Okay? Any questions at home? Let's start with a little bit of interpretations of this. Number one, we are jumping in time now to Poland 1800s. Okay? Listen to this. And then I will explain why it's so important to understand that we are talking about Poland 1800s. Okay? It is not called the Rosh Hashanah for the trees, but for the tree. Singular. That's the way the Talmud.
Torah.
You're getting the connection here, right? Whenever the word tree is used, it always refers to Torah, which is called Etz Chaim, the tree of life. Also, the Jewish people are referred to as apples hanging on the tree in the orchard. So the tree here referring to God. This is all allegory, right? Metaphor. Therefore, Tu Bishvat is also the celebration of the unique and intimate relationship the Jewish people have with their God, and a day to pursue that closeness.
Which would make it almost a holiday.
Oh, hold on. How did we go from taxing our trees to celebrating our connection with God? Let me think. Oh yeah, because it's Poland 1800. There was no dream to go, it was impossible to go back to Israel.
Yeah.
It's not that they never stopped praying.
You couldn't have a land.
There is no land, right? So, Tu Bishvat it was reinterpreted. And then it became a day of celebration of Torah and God. I will tell you something, and I want you to remember this, that every single holiday that it was temple-centered, okay, or farming-centered, like celebrating the harvest or celebrating the planting, celebrating the gathering of the fruits or whatever, it was all replaced by Torah. Let's see, for example, when you have Shavuot, for example. What is Shavuot in the Torah?
Harvest.
What is Shavuot about for the rabbis? The revelation of the Torah.
Yeah.
We don't the harvest. Yeah, sure, the Torah mentioned it, but it means nothing to us. Think about Sukkot, like especially Shmini Atzeret. It was about the gathering of the gathering of the heart. We finish the Torah and we start again. Torah again.
Yeah.
So there is a pattern here. There is a pattern about reinterpretation. Okay? Let's continue. Hold on. Just want to be sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Why was it different? I want to explain to you a little bit why was it different between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. Why one say the 1st of Shevat, the other one say the 15th. Okay? Beit Shammai, the one who said on the 1st, focuses on passing the point in the season when we have experienced the majority of rainfall that will impact on the growth of the tree and its fruit. While Beit Hillel takes into consideration the warming of the air as well, for it too will have significant impact upon the budding of the fruit trees. And that happened, according to them, within a couple of weeks difference. Okay? Remember, this is about the weather in Israel, not here. Although this year,
We're getting close. Yeah.
getting close. We're supposed to have like +4 next week, right? We're just like going back to October. Okay. Now, another interpretation said that, Beit Shammai represented the wealthy class. Listen to this. Whose superior orchard began to form fruit 2 weeks earlier than the trees of farmers with poorer fields. Because what happened is, if your trees blossom faster, then the other guys will have to wait to the next year to eat it. One more year waiting. So Beit Shammai gave 15 more days for more trees to blossom, so they could still eat those fruits a year earlier. Okay? That's another interpretation between the difference of the two. Just say. Let's continue. Now, I can't read that. Here, Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Rabbi Shimon, began quoting from Deuteronomy 13:5. After the Lord your God you shall walk, and unto him shall you cling. Okay? Do you understand that verse? Let me read it again. It says, after the Lord your God you shall walk, and unto him shall you cling. What does it mean?
You're going to do all the mitzvot and stay close to God all the time.
Yeah, this is a concept of imitating God. So basically, walking behind God is it, look at God, learn from example, and get close. Don't let it go. That should be your life. Always following God and learning from example, okay? That is usually the explanation of that verse. But let me continue. Now, the rabbi says, it is possible for a human being of flesh and blood to rise up to heavens and to cling, right? To cling to the divine presence about whom is written, for the Lord your God is a consuming fire. That's what the Torah says.
Yeah.
So how can the Torah say, get close to God? I said, whoa, God is described, right, as a consuming fire. Now, it says, for the Lord your God, rather, don't take it literally. Okay, don't take it literally. And it says, rather, just as from the beginning of the world, the Holy One, blessed be He, involved Himself only in planting. Right? How do we know that? Because we go to Genesis, and it says, and the Lord God planted in the Garden of Eden. So too, when you enter into the land, involve yourself only in planting. As it is written in Leviticus, when you come to the promised land, etc. Is what I read at the beginning. So what we are, this text from the Midrash Rabbah is longer. We said, just as God, clothed Adam and Eve, you have to clothe the naked. Just as God buried Moses, you have to bury the dead. Just as God was the one planting, we have to plant as well. Okay? There is a list the Midrash would give of things that God does and we should do. But I wanted to highlight that one of the things mentioned in the Midrash is planting. So let's continue, because this is Midrash Rabbah. And now, there is a commentary about it found in Avod Rabbi Natan, that it says, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was known to say, if you are holding a sapling in your hand and someone says that the Messiah has come, first plant the sapling and then go to greet the Messiah. What does it mean?
The importance of the following God's commandments of planting is more important than...
Yeah. One interpretation is that the planting is even more important than going to greet the Messiah. The other interpretation is, we have heard fake news so many times that if somebody comes to say, hey, the Messiah came, I'd rather finish planting first.
Yeah.
Then I will go see. If it's true, he will understand. If it's not true,
I haven't lost my.
yes. So I have to give you the, how you call it?
Prioritize.
No, the disclaimer, right? That the other interpretation is also true. That one way to understand that, then if you're planting, you finish planting, is that this is coming from a time with many false messiah were announced and nothing happened. So finish planting because it's still something very important. There are some other, but you still say that planting is very important for the Jewish people. God planted, we should plant. That's the main thing that we have to remember when we read this, okay? And but again, I'm bringing all this text considering that planting was denied to the Jewish people for centuries. When we said, I wish I could, but we can't. I don't have a land. So all these texts are coming back in this generation when we do have the chance to own land. And I'm not talking just in the land of Israel, everywhere we go.
Yeah.
So all these texts had a revival in Jewish tradition, from something that it was forgotten to something that became relevant again. And because we don't have in the calendar a celebration of planting, Tu Bishvat became that thing. Tu Bishvat became the reminder of all the sources that they talk about trees, because it was long forgotten. You have to have that in mind when we study. Let's continue. Now, there is something very interesting in the Torah, right? That it says, that it also mentioning, I want to share with you some of the scriptural sources that they mention trees. Because it's not only when you plant trees, the trees will have different symbolisms in different parts of Scripture. For example, when the people of Israel left Egypt, remember that they have different stations, that they went from one place to another. They used to have the magic cloud representing the presence of God. And when the cloud will move, they will follow the cloud, right? So the cloud moved, and eventually they came to a place called Elim. Okay? Elim. So it says, and they came to Elim, and there were 12 springs of water and 70 date palms. Okay? So, 12 springs of water, what do you think that represents? That kind of easy, right? That, yeah, so you see, you Jerome, you're already making connection to other concepts that are already available there. So sometimes we talk about the 70 nations of the world. Okay? And so if you take that interpretation, seems to represent that each one of the nations have their own tree. And each one of the trees create their own fruits. And they're all edible. Do you think that maybe this symbolizes that every culture can produce something that is, so to speak, edible? That's something that we can learn from it. But again, is the tree serving as a symbol? And how do we know that? Because of the numbers that they are used. It's 12, it's 70. It's almost like the Torah said, please, somebody, interpret me. So listen, let me go to the next one so you will see. So now we are going to a rabbi from Spain, 1200s. And he said, the 12th spring they found correspond to the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? The families of the 12 sons of Jacob. And the 70 date palms were one from each of the 70 learned elders of Israel. You got it wrong.
Okay.
You get it wrong. There was also the tradition that people of Israel had 70 elders, that they learned oral law to be sure that it will be passed to the next generation. So basically it says that, and you will learn this if you go and study Pirkei Avot, in the Mishnah. It was that Moshe al-Kivet Torah misinai umsara Yeshua. Yeshua las-Keinim and so forth. It said Moses kibel, he received the Torah from Sinai. From him, he went to Joshua. So poor Joshua, he had to come to Moses' school every day and learned everything. But Joshua, right, he took the precautions to teach it not to one person, but to 70. Okay? So, but it's interesting how the 70 are individual and different. And that is the beginning of why when the oral law was discussed, you had so many different opinions. How could you have different opinions if it's all coming from the same God? It's because what happened with the evolution of each one of the learners here. So that's an interesting topic as well. So the rabbis would say the trees were placed there to show individual honor to each of them. But again, we have the symbol of the tree. Any comments at home? The chat is very quiet, so if you have any comments, I would like to hear you guys. Let me know. Let me know.
The same hand with the 70 and the same hand?
Sorry?
Sanhedrin.
The same hand with the 70?
That was one. Was it 70?
70 plus 1.
Yeah. Well, but this is technically the 70 elders never stopped.
Okay.
They continue in every generation.
Okay.
But it was always the concept of the 70. Yeah, it's an important number, 70. Oh, Hashira said listening. Okay. Next. So, listen to this. The number of springs, the 12, signify God's plan to encourage each tribe to maintain its individuality. This is very important, especially in these days when we are committed with the concept of being plural, right? We are committed with the concept of different opinions, right? And respecting each other. Sometimes we fail, but we believe that is a good thing. And remember, this started with the destruction of the Tower of Babel. After the flood, they said there was one language, one opinion. The Tower of Babel was destroyed, and then what happened? The multiple opinions were created, okay? And they were allowed in the world. So, the number of springs signify God's plan to encourage each tribe to maintain its individuality. As they came to draw water, each tribe frequented its own spring placed there to honor them. The Talmud enumerates that the tribe of Zevulun, for example, had a disposition to sailing and commerce, whereas the tribe of Issachar were sages and scribes. The Torah clearly testifies to God's will that differences should persist. When the people of Israel stood at Mount Sinai, Moshe was commanded to erect a 12 monument corresponding to the 12 tribes, and throughout their journeys in the wilderness, they encamped separately, each tribe under its own flag. Further, when Moses was commanded to make the garments for the high priest, certain garments had the names of the 12 tribes engraved of them. So why is it so important to understand the differences? Bear with me here. If it says that each tribe represents different things, and they have to drink from different sources of water, okay? We don't have tribes anymore. So this text cannot be talking just about tribes. okay? It has to be a deeper principle.
Different personality.
Different personalities. So basically what it said is it's very important for you to figure out what's your gift. Right?
Yeah.
If your gift is not singing, don't spend a fortune in singing lessons. Because maybe you're wasting your true gift that is maybe math and science. Right? So once you figured out what it is, go drink the water. What is water? Nurturing, right?
Yeah.
That it will quench the thirst to pursue your destiny.
Yeah.
Okay? So for one tribe, in this case, again, this is a metaphor, right? That you know that you have the gift of sailing and commerce. Why do you want to nurture with
Farming.
with farming? It's not you. Nurture your gift because that's why you're here. So this is what this rabbi is trying to teach us here. Let's continue. Yes.
Where are you reading from there? Is it the Talmud?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
No, this is it's a U.S. rabbi, Rabbi Avigdor Miller.
Oh.
Okay? So let me continue here. Let's continue. Every tribe possessed its peculiar characteristics that were a key component to its contribution to the Jewish nation. Now change Jewish nation for society, right? Again, guys, when you read the Torah, this is so important. I always say, when you read it, don't get stuck in the details and try to fish for the general principle. Because the Torah is not a history book. So if you try to apply this for that specific generation, you're missing the point. Because all of a sudden it's not saying anything to you in the first century. So you always need to understand the principle. These characteristics were God-given and therefore mandated maintenance and cultivation. So it's your responsibility to find your well of water and to drink from there. Nurture your gifts. Let's go to the next one, next page. Okay, so hold on. So it says, thus, like a single body needs different limbs and organ systems, each performing its own function according to its makeup to enable the survival of the entire organism, so to the tribes, although unified as one body in brotherhood, had different talents and proclivities. Okay? So in other words, what he said is, it was absolutely fundamental for each tribe to develop their talents because each one of them was necessary. If you would have a people just of sages and scribes, who's going to work? Who's going to support the synagogues and the schools, right? So, an additional purpose in maintaining the individual status of the tribes was that it reduced the chance of a disloyal innovator seizing power and turning the nation away from God. Since each tribe later possessed its own land and talents, this would prevent a renegade tribe from influencing the rest of the children of Israel. Because of this principle, they respected each other's customs and idiosyncrasies, and they learned to refrain from making light or making fun of the manners or practices of the other tribes. Very important in these days.
Except when you had the kingdom of Yehuda and the kingdom of Israel.
Well, but then what happened is 10 of the tribes disappeared.
Yeah.
Okay, and all these things we have to be re-engineered
Yeah.
because they didn't have the individuality of the tribes anymore. And remember, once in a while, after 50 years, everybody had to go to the original land.
Right.
Was also a reminder of specific needs. Everything is a reminder that we have specific missions. It was obvious to them that God favored these differences, and they were united by loyalty to one God and His law. That's it. Okay, so what you have to remember, we are all different, and that's very important as far as we remember that we serve one God. If your differences take you away from that, then there is a problem. But it's great to be different as far as we remember that we serve one God. And that's the message that I would like to emphasize there. Now, it is commonly observed that there are still differences between groups of loyal Jews in their traditions concerning nuances of Hebrew pronunciations, garb, and details or the outlooks on issues. What are we talking about here?
Conservative, Orthodox,
Reform, and then you have within the Orthodox, you have the one who wear a suit, and the one who wear the capote, right, with the Stremel, right, and the Reform that wear a kippah and the Reform that don't wear a kippah. We have many differences the way we look, right, and the way we practice our Judaism is very different. So, some of these differences might find their way back to those differences expressed by different tribes. However, even for those not traced back to the 12 tribes, we'll still understand that there is nothing wrong with differences in tradition. And even before conservative, you have Ashkenazi and Sephardic, right?
Yeah.
And then
You have Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai.
there was also differences the way we practice. Some group of Jews excel in Torah study, others in prayer, others in act of kindness. And you know when this became very obvious? After October 7th. After October 7th, after the terrorist attack, it became very obvious that there were different Jews doing different things. Some spend the day praying. Some will start, study for the merits of the release of the captives.
Yeah.
Some will go and fight. They put the uniform and go.
Some will protest, and others will send money.
Some others will start calling their contacts. You try to lobby for support. Or they will send a check. Can you see the big principle here? How it applies?
Yeah.
And now we realize how each one of us is necessary in different ways. And we have to keep doing that. If your thing is prayer, that's what you should do. So, this concept was common at the time where Maimonides was very involved in this. And it was very controversial when the question arose, should we support people who study all day in a yeshiva and don't work? Remember that question, it comes in every generation, right? It said, they do anything. They don't do anything. All they do is study there. Oh, you mean they study to teach, right? No, they don't teach anybody. They just go and study. So why do I have to pay for them?
But they do teach.
No, not everybody. There are many that they don't teach. They just study. If you go to, no. No, if you go to a kollel, there are some people that eventually they become teachers. They are learners all their lives. But basically, the problem was not the concept of supporting them. The problem began when they started to have political power. That's when it became controversial.
Yeah.
Before that, it was obvious that some people, they need to do that to keep, you see, the tradition alive. They became experts, right? So, but the problem started with that became politicized. But as individuals that are different groups doing different things, united on our understanding that the real difference, there is no problem. And yes, if somebody knock at your door and say, can you give a check to the yeshiva? Sure, I want you to study. Because that's where you excel. I suck at it. So I prefer to open my store every day. The same way that you wouldn't be able to survive my store. Right? Different people.
Yeah.
All necessary unless it becomes politicized. That's my disclaimer here. Okay? Let's continue. Some groups of Jews excel in Torah study, others in prayers, others in act of chesed. And we must learn to appreciate the talents of all the groups. We are like one unified body with different limbs. It will be unthinkable that one should appreciate one of the organs in the human body but not another. Every aspect of the body is necessary and purposeful. Purposeful, so too with the people of Israel. Okay? And again, this is one of the reinterpretations of Tu Bishvat. Right?
Yeah.
And because we were landless for so long, this kind of interpretation flourished and gave us different meaning to the symbol of a tree that it has nothing to do with a physical tree. Okay? And we're running out of time, so I want to select the next one that I want to... So the Talmud also praises the tree. Now tree as a physical tree. The Talmud says, a man was traveling through the desert, hungry, thirsty, and tired, when he came upon a tree bearing luscious fruit and affording plenty of shade underneath which ran a spring of water. Oh, can you imagine that?
Yeah, a little oasis.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
He ate of the fruit, drank of the water, and rested beneath the shade. When he was about to leave, he turned to the tree and said, "Tree, oh tree, with what should I bless you?" You can't pay back to a tree, right?
Yeah.
Because money doesn't grow on trees. So if money doesn't grow on trees, why do banks have branches? Anyway, say, "Tree, oh tree, with what should I bless you?" Okay? Should I bless you that your fruit be sweet? Your fruit is already sweet. Should I bless you that your shade be plentiful? Your shade is already plentiful. That a spring of water should run beneath you? A spring of water runs beneath you already. So, there is one thing with which I can bless you. Are you ready for this? He said, "May it be God's will that all the trees planted from your seeds should be like you." So what else we learn from the tree? What else we learn from the tree?
And if we are good people, we should make sure that continues in our families.
Because that's another thing we learn from the tree, right? You have a beautiful tree, right? What is your neighbor going to ask you? Can I have some seeds to plant in my garden?
Yeah.
Right? I want to have a tree like yours. Okay, sure. Here you have it. Plant it. And then the tree is going to be the same. If you water it, it's going to be the same because it's coming from the same, DNA.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the other thing that we learn in Tu Bishvat by learning from the trees is that that's also our goal as human beings. If we are represented by the trees, we want the same thing. Okay? We want to nurture a next generation with our values. Mm-hmm. And so it's about the challenge to pass ourselves to the next generation. So these are a few things that I want to share with you about the trees, and just to take a different twist on Tu Bishvat. Not about the planting, right? Not about the silly songs that we sing sometimes. They're all songs for kids.
Yeah.
But about what happened in history with this Tu Bishvat. There was nothing to do with planting, and all about understanding the tree and the symbolism of the tree. That came after the concept of Tu Bishvat's tax day was over. Okay? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. Remember, the Torah L'Chaim is going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. So if you missed any part, you have another chance. Okay? So thank you again. And if you want to celebrate Tu Bishvat with us, we have the Tu Bishvat Seder this Sunday evening. I don't know if the registration is closed.
Yeah, it's 24th.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you call to the office and you're nice enough, they might let you in, but you have to be really nice. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Just gotta bring some seeds.